All right, welcome to another Boulevard Paper Fight weekly blog. This week, I'm going to be talking about some fun things. Something that's been on my mind, and it's kind of a teaser to the Help from Future Self podcast episode dropping in a couple days. But first, I just want to talk about a little bit of my KeyForge exploits from the week. And first up, it was actually my stream with my man, Dan, aka Dan is someone from Sanctimonious. On Saturday, we did a co-stream and jam some games, and it was a lot of fun. It was his birthday, so he wanted to hang out. And since we live in different cities and we can't visit each other, it was the perfect way to accomplish that. And one thing I learned doing that is we kind of just chose a bunch of random decks. And we knew what they were. They weren't like top tier, but they were solid, I would say, most of them. And we chose them based on some emotional attachment, I guess, like the first deck we each ever opened. We've played them against one another before, and then we chose some other stuff, which was a lot of fun. And one thing I realized is the fun factor when you're choosing decks and playing KeyForge, because there's many levels in which you can actually like play KeyForge, and making sure you have a matchup where both decks can basically go toe to toe until the end, I think is a really important part of the game. And that's something we got to do. I don't think we ever had a game that was really a blowout, but it was a lot of fun to go down that path and experiment and just try playing KeyForge in a different way, in a really fun, more relaxed hanging out sort of environment, which was great. And sometimes when you're just jamming randoms on TCO, you don't get that luxury because people will sometimes be looking to bring the heat every time. So it was great to basically relax and just have some fun times playing KeyForge with a friend. So if you don't do that, I do recommend it. Get your friends out and play with them on TCO. Now, for the main topic for this week, and this is what relates to the Help from Future Self side of things, is the idea of collection growth. So we are now 4 sets into KeyForge, and I don't know about you, but my deck acquisition was really thirsty to begin with, and now I have a lot of decks. Probably not as many as some, but probably more than others. You know, everyone I think falls into that category in some form or another. But what I am starting to notice is I have this huge collection, and I'm wondering what will happen. Because right now I don't have a desire to buy decks. I have so many, I can't get rid of a lot of them because they're not amazing. And it's not like other card games where you have the really strong secondary market to move them, because you have individual cards which can be sold in bulk. There's individual value on them, so you can move them more easily. This is a situation where kind of you have a deck and either it's a take it or leave it sort of thing, and sometimes they're not worth taking. And we don't really have set formats or anything like that in a capacity where people would want to just acquire decks. Obviously, cubes and things exist, but I don't think it has the same value that other TCGs have. So the interesting thing about KeyForge is you only need one deck to play. But when you're on that chase to find something special and unique that you're going to open and it's all yours and no one else has it, you're going to end up like getting this bulk of decks that you don't know what to do with. So I'm curious what people have been doing with their decks, and have they been finding a way to offload those extra chaff decks that are just hanging around? Because I haven't, and it's making me not want to purchase more at all. I'm kind of in a freeze point now. Like I did my purchase for Mass Mutations, which I think I did 3 or 4 boxes for displays, and I think that might have been a little too much, but I was producing content with them, so it had that added value. But I don't know if I'm going to do that again. I feel very much like maybe the secondary market is where I want to go, grab a display and then go into the secondary market, maybe 2 max. But I'm really feeling now that you're just accumulating stuff in a way with this, and they take up space because you're getting 36 every time. 37, I guess, if you include the Archon. And yeah, so it's just too much to have, and you can't offload them, not like other games. So I'm starting to wonder a couple things. Is, will the growth of the game and sales be, reduced as a result of this? Because you have this situation where people are buying decks, and we can see the 2 million decks sold thing is still growing, and you would think more players are coming in, so that would exponentially increase over time. But I'm also wondering, is the people who were first adopting the game, are they acquiring so many decks now that maybe that's not the case, and so you're going to see a reduction in sales, and those people who are newer to the game and selling decks are going to be putting them out there. I mean, there are people who are buying decks and they have no interest in playing like super top competitive. So they'll be flipping those top decks, and they like the more, upper but not top tier decks, the upper tier decks we'll call them. And it's just interesting to think about, will this be something in the game? Is this going to be something that actually affects KeyForge moving forward, not having this strong secondary market to just get rid of individual decks that aren't amazing? Is there some way we can utilize this? These are all questions that I've been really thinking about, and something that Scuzzy and myself are going to be discussing a lot more in depth this Thursday when the podcast drops. So I'm very curious what everyone thinks about this idea about deck accumulation, buying more decks, and what happens as your collection grows and you're kind of stuck with this. So that's just some food for thought, and that's been my thoughts for this week. I've been really thinking about this, and I'm just very curious about how it is. And the one thing about KeyForge though is like every deck, the fact that it's unique means that there is like this quest and this search trying to find it, and that can come in looking on the secondary market for something that exists. But there's always that feeling when you open a new KeyForge deck, is this going to be the one? Is this going to be the craziest deck I've ever opened? And I think that mystery and draw is something that does not exist in other games. And that's what keeps you kind of wanting to do it. But I think there comes a point when you have to look at it practically, and does this make sense to do this? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So that's going to be all for this week's Key Thoughts. I hope you're enjoying this series and you like it. If there's some topics that you want me to maybe even discuss, like feel free to reach out and let me know. And let me know your thoughts on this idea of the collection growth and what's going to happen. Kind of how will the game be affected by this? And will there even be an effect in a way? So we're going to get Scuzzy's thoughts on this too, and we're going to have a real proper discussion about this on our podcast from Help from Future Self, and you can catch that episode this Thursday. So thanks for tuning in as always. May your ember never be stolen and your keys forged promptly. Have a good one.